Hello, everyone. Good morning to Weekend Conversations. I hope you're enjoying this weekend. And it's time to have a conversation with you all. So, I just concluded my trip to Singapore, which was hosted by Apple, and got an opportunity to experience uh, its facility over there, which is just dedicated for reliability and durability tests for camera modules. So the camera that powers iPhones is tested for reliability and durability in that facility. Now that's not the topic. I'm going to make a separate video and write some more details on it in due course of time. But I, as a founder or as an entrepreneur, had a learning from it, and that is what I want to share with you. And that's what probably makes Apple what it is. And that is what makes great companies out there. So, what was my learning out there as an entrepreneur? I found that Apple does very extensive and rigorous testing of products over there for these camera modules, which then, are um, fitted into iPhones. And okay, that's normal. Every product company will design, will develop, will conduct all these tests. But what probably differentiates Apple, and that's the core learning and essence of what I want to share today, is we have to be empathetic in our product design. Now what do I mean by that? We have to conduct empathetic R&D, we have to do empathetic testing, reliability, go through the entire process of product design and product development. That is what we have to do empathetically. We have to visualize that in what conditions, in what environments our users are going to use our products and services, and ensure we are exactly designing as per that. Even if it may be just 1% of your customers who may be experiencing such conditions in future, you have to ensure that the product really will serve those conditions also and stand in those conditions also. That is exactly what Apple is doing, what I found out there. Honestly, I think they could have done away with a lot of things which they do there. They could have, maybe if they're doing 10 things over there, they could have maybe just decided to do only maybe 4 or 5 of them, because we have this majoritarian view that, okay, my 80% of customers will be mostly facing these 3 4 conditions, and let us ensure that our product does not fail there. And we never think about remaining 20%, remaining 10%, remaining 5%. That's, let's be honest, it's with everyone out there. I've seen this with very big companies also talking like this, that we have ensured that at least 80% of the users or 80% of the conditions are met. But what I saw different at Apple is they ensure, because it's a global, and that's what makes it global. That's another learning, that if I have to really make it global, I have to ensure that I am, um, you know, m- ensuring its reliability, its durability, its endurance, in all those conditions. And that's what exactly Apple does. They put in a lot of efforts. It's not just about, okay, there is a checklist of tests which they do. It's not just about that. It's about how they execute those tests. That is, the granularity. That is where you see that empathetic approach. Apple is visualizing its customers in every possible scenario and then conducting these tests. That is the beauty. That is what I think we all need to learn. It's not just for entrepreneurs, or it's not just for startups, it's for everyone else. And probably I got an answer that why in India we have not been able yet to create a global product. Why don't we have a global product in the visibility? I'm especially talking from hardware point of view, because we are not empathetic in our R&D, in our product design. We just design what we feel we should design. We don't empathize. We don't put ourselves in customers' shoes. since we don't put in and we don't then feel that, okay, what are the conditions that consumers are going to use it? That is why we see a very, deep gorge between the experience which you get in lab environment, lab conditions, and what you can achieve on the road. And that's where, Apple is different. That's why you see many a times there are products which come in and they claim of superb things, and there's a small asterisk which says, it's done under lab environment, it's done in a controlled environment, in lab conditions we have achieved these scores. Actual results may vary. Now that is all the game, that is all the difference. You can't ensure, you can't force a customer to use your product, your service in a controlled environment in lab conditions. You can never do that. That's not what your product is meant for. So that is really essential and a great learning for me. Uh, well, I'm not in that set of product development. I'm not in that kind of a business, but I'm going to make it sure that even for Techarc, I try to have this empathetic approach, which means maybe I will think of not making at times too long, write ups, because I have to understand that my, consumers, my audience, which is a CXO, may not have that much of time to go through a 15-minute read or a 10-minute read. If I can summarize it, concise it in 2-3 minutes, that is what it should be. So this may not be a very great example, but I think for people who are into products and services which are consumer oriented, consumer centric, this is something what we need to learn. We need to really build it as a culture of our process of developing products. That's what I had to share today. I hope it makes sense. I hope you agree with this. And you may ask me, what is the success story? Apple is the success story. What else could there be other than Apple as a success story? And that too for iPhones. So that's really a big takeaway for me, as an entrepreneur, as someone who is with the startup ecosystem, that we need to really have this empathy-led approach of product design and product development and R&D. It has to be empathetic. We have to visualize, and we have to envision our product, and we have to develop our product keeping consumer in mind. That's very important. I hope you really find this insightful and interesting. I'll be back with you next week in another weekend conversation. Till then, have a great time.